Etapu, Namaste, Huru Nefer, Assalamu Alaikum. This is Kusank Keparu with another broadcast for you. And in this broadcast, we're going to talk about your expectations will create reality. However, before I talk about that, I'd like you to hit the like button located here at the bottom. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. Also, we have free ebooks that you can read today and take part in. Just click on the links below. You can download them and start expanding your knowledge on the esoteric, on the spiritual. And if you haven't already, support us on Patreon. Your support gets you full access to recorded video, instructional videos on how to meditate, how to invoke spirits, proper breathing techniques, how to work with the oracles. And last but not least, please pass this video on to family and friends because we need to get the revolution started. So, Haru Nefer, how are you doing? I want to talk to you today about a very, very interesting subject. Even after, spending about 12 years in priesthood and a lot of years on my own studying with different masters or gurus or coaches, I still sometimes drop back and forget how powerful we are as divine beings and how we manifest our world in our reality. So today I actually caught myself. And I said, hey, because basically, just to set the stage for you, I was contemplating talking with someone. And I said, this conversation is not going to go right. Meaning that we're shooting a video and the client wants some changes in the video. And I was saying, well, the client is going to have to pay overages. They're going to have to pay for these incremental changes. So that's a conversation that we have to have. And I don't expect it to go well because the client has already said they're not paying any more money, but yet they keep coming back and asking for changes. So I was a little bit apprehensive about going and talking to the client and asking for more money because they wanted all these changes. And then I remembered my teaching and I said to myself, well, why are you expecting that conversation not to go well? Just because the previous conversation was a bit challenging because the client didn't want to pay for the overages then, and you expect them not to want to pay for it now? And that's when it dawned upon me. I said, oh my God, I violated a very fundamental principle of magic, that expectations create reality. You see, reality does not exist apart from the observer. It is your expectations that create the reality that you see before you. So then I said, well, whatever I expect in terms of how the conversation should play out is how it will play out. But, and this is very important, but since I already accepted the belief system that the conversation would not go well, it is now tainted how that reality will manifest. And it already has manifested. So what I want to talk to you today about is something that's important. And it's this. We talk about magic and we talk about manipulating reality. We talk about the law of attraction, attracting that which you want. But we must understand it's not as complicated as some will present it. You have those who are in Yoruba, those who are in Voodoo, those who are Wicca, those who are Kemetic, and they'll come along and say you have to do this ritual, you have to sacrifice this deity, you have to give an offering to this deity. But in truth, it is not as complicated as that. The mere idea or expectation of what should unfold activates the power within you to manifest the reality that you want. And I'm going to break this down so we have a clear understanding of it. Because you are a very powerful being. But the key to manifesting your power is belief. That's all it really takes, a belief in self. But you have been trained by this society, which has been imprisoned. The entire planet is in a prison state of a matrix. You have been taught to place your belief in external individuals and objects, individuals such as Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. So thereby you have limited yourself. You have made yourself powerless by placing a belief in something apart from yourself. And by placing the belief in a Jesus figure, you manifest that figure and you make it powerful. So therefore, in one reality, Jesus does exist, and Muhammad does exist, and Buddha does exist, and Krishna does exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? But these are merely permission slips. They're giving you permission to allow the energy systems within you to flow without hindrance. Let me say that again. If I tell you you're powerful, you have been so brainwashed and manipulated by this reality that you cannot believe in yourself. So therefore, the energy systems within your body that flow throughout you and connect to the chakras will not flow naturally. It'll be blocked. It's like a dam where the energy just builds and builds and builds. But if I give you a permission slip, a permission to believe, which is believe in Jesus, believe in Buddha, believe in Muhammad, believe in Moses, then you will believe and allow the energy to flow, and that dam will not be there anymore, and the energy will naturally flow. But this is why it's important in our Kemetic tradition that we place the belief within the indwelling intelligence, which is Oser, which is us. Oser is the indwelling intelligence. It is God within us. And you must learn to place the belief in yourself and not need a permission slip. A magic wand is a permission slip. An oracle, the oracle is a permission slip. You do not need these things. But some who are just starting out, who are initiates, may need these tools. But the goal is to get you away from them, to come into the realization of your power without the use of them. Do you understand? Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Now, one of the things that I notice a lot of magi's don't do, and I'm speaking specifically of magicians, is to learn to use their power on a daily basis. You see, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's simple as that. And as I said before, and I'm going to say to you, all my magi's, we have to be more aware of what's going on, and we have to guard the gates in a way. I'm speaking metaphorically. Because we don't practice our magic on a daily basis. And you must do that to become a stronger magician. The more you empower yourself by practicing it daily, the more wondrous feats you can accomplish. You see, in my life, I have done some things that have defied explanation. I have done some things that have even tripped me out, that even shocked me. And I'm only able to do this because I have practiced magic on a daily basis. And I'm not asking you to pull out your altars and to meditate and do all this every day. No one has time for that. We're very busy people. But going back to the example that I mentioned earlier of myself knowing that I had to talk to my client about, my client says, well, I don't like the animation here. Can we make this animation, the circle, be bigger? And I said, well, I have to have a talk with the client that this is going to cost more money, and I'm afraid that conversation won't go well. The mere fact that I took a step back and reminded my person that reality does not exist apart from the observer, that is my expectations, whatever I expect creates the reality. You see, when you hold an idea, and ideas are very powerful in your head, an idea is the deity Sebek or Anubis. The idea is so powerful. Now, the idea with the emotion to back it up becomes the formula for creation, or let's say manifestation, because you can't really create anything. You see, here is the secret to magic. I'm going to give you this secret. Every day, every minute of every day, you are so powerful, you are manifesting things. It's like that video game Sims, or it's like like I was watching this one video game, it's the Star Wars. And it's really an interesting game where I think it's on the planet Tatooine, and you had Darth Vader fighting Rey, and Rey fighting Darth Maul. And you can see that it had a 360 view, and the computer was generating the scenery every turn, left, right. It was generating the scenery. You're so powerful of a magician that when you step out of one room, you manifest another room. You manifest your kitchen, you manifest your living room, you manifest your bedroom, you go downstairs, you manifest the lobby, you get in the car, you manifest your car, you get in the train, you manifest the train. That's how powerful you are. It's on autopilot. Now, there are two things that we have to keep in mind as magi's. This is where we get into the term ma'ati, M-A-A-T-I. Ma'ati, the two truths, the relative interacting. And when I mean relative, I'll explain that. In other words, the first thing is there is the reality, which is the mass consensus agreement. This is where we have all come together as spiritual souls in the inner planes and agreed on certain principles and rules that this reality will abide by. Okay? So in other words, we agree that there will be a sky, there will be a sun, there will be a moon, there will be an island, there will be a train, there will be a plane. We agree on these things. Okay? And those are the rules. Because we have to have a scenery, a set to interact with. But then you as the individual, in relation to these things, have a degree of power to manifest things within these parameters. Okay? You cannot suddenly say, goodbye, moon, I don't want a moon there. Because we agree that that moon has to be there for us all to have an experience to play out a certain theme within the experience. Because we all have assigned themes that we must play out and experience. Now let's take this further. So we understand, due to the mass collective agreement or the mass consensus agreement, that there will be gravity, okay? That there will be oxygen. We all agree to that in the inner planes. Now you have the power to manifest and experience a reality within those parameters. And it's on autopilot, meaning you are naturally creating the friends, your lovers, the dog, the cat, the goldfish. You're creating these things and you're not aware that you're so powerful that you're doing it. And then you create limitation. You actually create limitation. You say that I cannot believe that I can do these things, but I believe Jesus can. So I will manifest a fictitious character named Jesus, and I will make him real, and he will be empowered to heal people. And you do. And this is how people have visions of Jesus, because they manifest that. They create that. They don't understand that Jesus that they see is not real, that they manifested it, and they endowed it with certain powers. It's as if I read a character, and my character, my name is Walt, my last name Disney, Walt Disney, I create Mickey Mouse. I write the character. He has ears, he has a tail, and I endow Mickey Mouse with a character. He's funny, he's lovable. I create Donald Duck, You write the religious figures and you create them, you manifest them, okay? But you don't need them. You are a divine being. You are God. Do you understand that? Now, one of the things that you can do, and this is the secret that I wanted to tell you about, is that you don't need all of this paraphernalia, all of these permission slips. Your power is in expectation. Your power is in expectation. When I did the experiment back in New York, where I manifested money on the street, and let me tell you what I did. I worked for about, I think it was 30 days on this formula to manifest money. And I said that every time I looked down on the ground and I would see some trash that people would discard on the ground, it would not be trash, it would be money. So when I would walk down the streets of New York and I would look down, my expectation that it would be dollar bills. And I started out with $1 or $2, and then I moved up, and eventually I started manifesting $50. And in one instance, I'm walking, and I believe it was on 42nd Street, New York, and there was a circle of men on their lunch break. I think some of them were construction workers, others were people who work at a traffic light. They were in a circle talking to each other. And I'm walking, and I look at them, and they're not even paying attention to me, looking at each other. And I look down right in front of them, and there's $50 down there. So I walk and I pick it up right in front of them, and I keep walking. And very interesting enough, none of them could see it. None of them saw it. And this is about 6 or 7 guys standing there. But you see, my expectation was already that I would be seeing money on the floor. And because I am a divine being, I'm God, I manifested it there in my reality. Now, what I did was nothing extraordinary. Because that's your power. That's what you can do. You see, when you operate from that framework of expectation, you see, put it this way, when you look at the most successful people in the world, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, when they start a new company or they try to invent something, it usually turns out, in most parts, to be successful. There's some failures, but it usually turns out to be successful. Why is that? Because they expect it to be successful. Therefore, they activate a power within them they don't even realize, and therefore it manifests. But the expectation alone is not the secret ingredient, although it's very important. The expectation without belief means nothing. You must believe. Otherwise, it will not come to fruition. You understand? And the belief really comes from reference experience. What do I mean by that? Reference experience means that you've experienced something very similar. So the mind has no problem in believing it. The mind has a problem believing things that it has no reference experience for. If I tell you to go out there and hold your hand up and you'll be able to levitate that tractor trailer, your mind will search and say, hey, have we ever done that before? And then the mind will like, no. And then you'll have trouble believing it. But there is a way to circumvent that. And that is, we practiced this a number of years ago, which is to catch the mind off guard, so it doesn't have time to put up walls or to think critically. You see, they covered this in the film The Matrix, when there are glitches in the Matrix. Let me explain how this works. All right. When you are operating in belief and you have a certain expectancy, and that expectancy is not a conscious thing, but a subconscious process, then it's already deep buried in your spirit. And When you look for something, you're already in expectancy and you're already in belief, and therefore it will manifest. One of the things that we did for those individuals who had a very left brain thinking and they were very critical and they would overanalyze things and say, oh, that's not possible, it can't be done. What we would tell them to do is we would do the amen practice. And what is the amen practice? It is quickly close your eyes, think of nothing, think of nothing, think of nothing. Now, open your eyes quickly. What is the first thing you expect? And taking a step further is this. Have an idea of what you want to manifest. Think about it. Now stop, clear your mind, close your eyes. Stand there for about 5-10 seconds, then open your mind, and then with the expectancy that that is what you will see. Because when you're clearing the mind of thoughts, there's no negative thoughts that pop up, there's no nothing. You directly tap into the right hemisphere of the brain, the subconscious process, and that's responsible for manifesting things. So when I was looking for the money on the floor in New York, I was in belief and I was in expectancy, and therefore it manifested. Now, this formula is not an easy one. It takes practice, it takes training, because you're going to doubt it. You're going to be looking and doubting it. There are two things that you don't want to do, and I'm going to give you this key. The two things you don't want to do. Okay, the first thing is to, I'm looking for money, I'm looking for money. Consciously think about it. Because anything that you're consciously thinking about is in the left hemisphere of the brain, and therefore the left hemisphere of the brain does not control magic. It does not deal with magic. It's only the right hemisphere of the brain that taps into the right hemisphere of the brain. I'm sorry, it taps into the spirit. And the spirit is the source of your power. Okay? So the first thing is you don't want to consciously think about, oh, this, I got to have this, I got to have that. This is why you'll see in magic many times they say focus on objective and then forget about it and watch it manifest. But those people who start thinking about it, well, why isn't it manifesting? Why isn't it manifesting? You're only prolonging it. You know what I mean? You're only prolonging it. Okay. So you don't want to do that. Okay. You don't want to consciously keep thinking about it. All right. The other thing is you need to be in a light trance state, because when you're in a light trance state, then reality is palatable. It's be able to be molded. Okay, because everything you do, this reality is a trance state, whether you realize it or not. Okay, so you don't want to go out there in a fully awake state, alert and looking everywhere, because that will not be able to manifest. This is why, for example, when individuals get stressed out, they get upset, when you're not at that amen peace state, you can't manifest anything. Being stressed out, being upset, being worried is more of a grounding earth energy. And it becomes more difficult to manifest things that you want in your life. So anyway, let's go back to what I was saying. The key here is to expect that which you want. And the experiment that you can do with this is the talking to strangers experiment. Hold in your mind a thought of how you want an interaction to go with someone, right? And then go up to strangers and start talking to them. And then see if the interaction will play out according to the way you thought it would. Now, many times, because you're starting out, it may not. For example, I would say I'm going to talk to someone and it's going to be the person's going to be open and receptive to me. It's going to be really a great conversation. Now, because you're nervous, the first time you go up and start talking to somebody, they're going to think you're weird. They think you're crazy, and they'll probably walk away from you like, what is this guy talking to me for? But what you're trying to do is to manipulate reality. So hold in your mind that every interaction that you get into with these strangers will be a very interesting and fruitful conversation. And then start approaching strangers and just say hi. And then watch their reaction. You don't even have to say anything after that, just say hi. If you, in your mind, expect them to start engaging you in a conversation, that's how it will play out. Now, this is part of magic, and this is what you need to do, because you need to have a reference experience. You need to see that this works. In the same way, when I was manifesting $50, I had to start off with $1, then $2, because I needed that reference experience to be able to manifest more money. Because your faith builds and your faith grows, okay? And that's part of the requirements. Now, there was a film not too long ago. Well, it actually was long ago. It was back in 1980, a film called Altered States. And I think it was a very interesting film because I want to cover that. And in the film, the main character was looking at experiencing different alternate states of consciousness. And what he was doing is he was questioning reality. What is reality? Is it something the mind creates, or is it an objective thing? And so he ended up basically taking these drugs, DMT, ayahuasca, or medicines as we call it. And the film was really, it won an Oscar for special effects and things of that nature. But what was really interesting about the film is, what I love is the question, what is reality? If you understand that using the term hypnosis or trance state, that this reality that you're experiencing is nothing more than a trance state that you create. If you understand that, then you understand that you can manifest whatever you want, including money. When a hypnotist puts you under, all he's doing is changing the channel. That's all he's doing. Because you're already in hypnosis, whether you realize it or not. This is how you're experiencing this reality. And when he puts you into a state of hypnosis to relive your childhood, he's just changing the channel to a different reality. And you can do that yourself with self-hypnosis. So I want to play a little bit of this so we can get an idea. And this is in regards to the film Altered States, which deals with this one scientist going on this journey, taking the medicine, DMT and ayahuasca, and seeing his experience with it. So hold on one second. Let me key this up in the video.
Edward Jessup, a professor, experiments with hallucinogens and sensory deprivation tanks, believing that our altered states of consciousness could be as real as our normal waking states. He claims to previously have had religious visions as a child and has been chasing absolute truth of the mind, of humankind, and of God ever since. He becomes obsessed with his work, which leads to his being estranged from his wife. In his travels, he discovers a powerful chemical called first flower that wildly changes his perception. Believing this the key, he takes it back to be studied. Jessup takes another dose, this time in sensory deprivation, to enhance the experience. He claims that he had a vision of early hominids and that the altered state of his mind while on the drug is tapping into a long-dead evolutionary memory. After another dose, he transforms into such a primate. Later, during another transformation, his wife is endangered. He somehow fights off his own transformation and saves his wife. Consciousness, from a psychological lens, not a philosophical lens, is the awareness of both ourselves and our environment. Though even when we are asleep, what we commonly call unconsciousness, the fact is that consciousness is still in effect. Our brains are still working, and if we are lucky, we dream. But when we are awake and experience the world in ways that are akin to dreams, we are experiencing what is called an altered state of consciousness. Some would say that actually includes dreams because we are always conscious in one way or another, but most define altered states as a condition that is significantly different, while awake, from a normal waking beta wave state. The film focuses on psychoactive drugs and sensory deprivation, but there are other ways to induce altered states like oxygen deprivation and sleep deprivation, even hypnosis. There are also involuntary.
So I wanted to stop there so we understand the key of what he's saying. Now, what he's saying in particular, that there's other ways, there are natural ways to induce alternate states of consciousness. One important thing he said was that we're always conscious. Even when you think you're dreaming or when someone hits you over the head and you're knocked out, you're still conscious. You're just in an alternate state of consciousness. That's the key. Now, inducing alternate states can come from, like he said, sleep deprivation and hypnosis. So one of the things that I practice a lot is sleep deprivation, because when you're in that mode of deprived of sleep, number one, reality becomes malleable. And what I mean by that is that reality, you can, if you know what you're doing, you can manipulate reality that way. The other thing is the spirit comes to the forefront, and you can impregnate the spirit with ideas. So if I were to tell myself I'm a genius at math, or I'm a genius piano player, then the spirit will take that in, and that I will act in alignment with that. So those are two things that are very interesting about that. So let's go further. I just want to play a little bit more of this.
Involuntary altered states, much of them pathological, like various forms of psychosis. These are all the titular altered states of the film. When Jessup is floating in the water tank in the beginning of the film, he is attempting to reach an altered state. When he takes the first flower concoction, he is here as well. When he combines the experience of taking the chemical with the experience of the isolation tank, same thing.
You think man is simply another state of consciousness?
There's a body of evidence to support that.
Hallucinations, whether induced or accidental, have long been connected to spirituality. The Huichol are indigenous to Mexico, and their religion consists of 4 principal deities: corn, blue deer, the eagle, and peyote, which all descended from their sun god. Up north a bit, the Native American church is often called peyotism, or peyote religion. In the film, Jessup travels to Mexico to take part in a ayahuasca ceremony. The brew is actually part of a spiritual medicine performed by the indigenous peoples of Amazonia. But hallucinations and visions of a spiritual nature are not always said to be induced by powerful psychoactive drugs. In the Abrahamic religions, for example, God used visions to communicate with his people, what Numbers chapter 24 verse 4 called waking dreams. God used a vision to restate the Abrahamic covenant, to give Jacob a vision of a ladder reaching to heaven, and so forth. Nearly the entire book of Revelation is a vision John had while exiled on the island of Patmos. Jessup mentions the book of Revelation explicitly, and also has a vision that implicitly references said book. The 7-eyed lamb that appears in Jessup's first vision must be a reference to Revelation chapter 5, verse 6. In the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes. Jessup claims to have had visions of Jesus Christ, of angels, of fantastic religious imagery, but only when he was a child. Jessup's later work in the field of abnormal psychology is his attempt to recreate such visions through science. He says that mankind has done away with God, and that they must journey to the center of themselves instead to find answers, to find ultimate truth. He compares this to Buddhism, which does not strictly enforce the idea of a creator God, but still contains some fantastical elements. Jessup's thinking is admonished by his colleagues and superiors, and because this is his story, he is proven right, but studies in hallucinations show empirical data that explains these visions. Scientists have been able to make video EEG recordings in patients who are having seizures and have observed an exact synchronization of their alleged religious vision with a spike in epileptic activity in the temporal lobes. Those who hallucinate say that their visions are so vivid and compelling that they deny the term hallucination and insist it is reality. But the hallucinations seem so real because they deploy the very same systems in the brain that actual perceptions do.
Okay, let's stop there, because I think, so what this individual is trying to do is he's trying to discount these hallucinations, because there are people who have undergone this medicine or had damage to the frontal lobe and had these epileptic seizures and saw visions. He's trying to say that these are just visions and not real. But what I say to you is we have to redefine this. What they are seeing is reality. What they are seeing is their ability to manifest reality. And they are manifesting these things, whether they are monsters, creatures, or whatever. It is still an aspect of their being and an aspect of their power. So in other words, he is saying, the announcer is saying, well, the same functions of the brain that create reality also create the hallucinations. So then by default, you're saying that our reality is not real. Because if you're telling me that these same things in the brain, these connections in the brain that form our reality are also forming the visions, then we have to ask the question then, what is reality? Because if it is created within the brain, then there is no such thing as a reality, and that we can manipulate it and we can change it according to our will. So I want to go back in here and just play that again so we can understand what he was saying, because I think that's so very, very important.
Story he is proven right, but studies in hallucinations show empirical data that explains these visions. Scientists have been able to make video EEG recordings in patients who are having seizures and have observed an exact synchronization of their alleged religious vision with a spike in epileptic activity in the temporal lobes. Those who hallucinate say that their visions are so vivid and compelling that they deny the term hallucination and insist.
Okay, so we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that most people who have undergone DMT, who've undergone ayahuasca, who have undergone deep hypnosis, have had such profound experiences, listen to what I'm saying, that they deny that they're hallucinations. They say it was more real than reality, what they saw. Okay? So what is that telling us? That this reality that we exist in is one channel among many channels. It's like putting a different movie in the DVD player. That reality that we experience now is one among many other realities that exist that we can tune into. Okay, let's go further.
It is reality, but the hallucinations seem so real because they deploy the very same systems in the brain that actual perceptions do.
That deploy the very same systems in the brain. So what you're saying is that reality exists within the brain. So then you must conclude that reality does not exist. There is no one reality. Let's continue.
When someone hallucinates voices, the auditory pathways are activated. When someone hallucinates a human face, the fusiform face area, normally used to perceive and identify faces in the environment, is stimulated. Obviously, altered states does not take this approach. When Jessup has a vision, he remembers the agony of his father's death, which caused him to reject the idea of God. The loss of the father, analogous to the loss of the Heavenly Father. Later in the film, he is even further disillusioned, but this time through scientific research, concluding that there is no final truth. And that makes sense. If the universe is infinite, then there is no final truth, just more truth to learn, without end. The search for God by altering the mind has some obvious holes. Accounts of God speaking to human beings suggest that if there is a God and God speaks to people, then God does not require someone to take mushrooms or seal oneself in an isolation tank to achieve such a feat. If God wants to talk to you, then God will. One cannot trick God into speaking by taking the right amount of drugs. Also,
now, he's playing games. He's just mocking spirituality by saying that, he's trying to say God speaks to you in like an auditory way. You know what I mean? And he's also trying to just downplay the effectiveness of the medicine DMT and ayahuasca. But let's continue.
So the idea that a human being needs to create elaborate scientific creations and drug cocktails to find God suggests a misunderstanding between the realm of science and the realm of faith. If Jessup does not necessarily believe in God, and he does not believe in rational science that would explain the hallucinations caused by isolation tanks and drugs, then what does he believe in? Well, he believes in pseudoscience. And he says it with such authority and sincerity that he practically wills it into being. Jessup believes in some form of devolution, the quackery that states species could de-evolve or should de-evolve.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there because now he keeps going on and making mockery of what the character was going through. And you don't, of course, obviously you don't need to take DMT or ayahuasca to come in contact with God. But what we know from these experiences is that when you take these medicines or when you go into a deep hypnosis state, you deactivate the left hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain creates separation. It creates individuality. The right hemisphere of the brain is connection to 5D. So what does that mean? The ego dies when you connect to the right hemisphere of the brain and you experience a profound sense of oneness with all. And the reason that you experience that oneness is because you don't experience the physical body again. You experience no thingness. You realize that you are immaterial, that you are one with all. And then when you experience the fact that you're one with all, you come directly into contact with source energy, with God. That is why some people would take ayahuasca and DMT, because it kills the ego from the left hemisphere of the brain. It activates 5D, which is identification with source, not with the body. And God is oneness. God is one with all. So anyway, it's a good film. Check it out. It's called Altered States. Of course, this announcer, he's trying to put it down because he wants to make science seem like the end all and be all of everything, and that explains everything in the universe. Science science is their God. That's what it is, you know. And of course, they won't admit that, but that's what they believe. You know what I mean? So anyway, the point being is that listen, if we understand that that reality is taking shape in the brain, and that there's no outside reality, and there's no external reality, and that the reality is formed within, let me not say brain, mind, okay? Then we know that we can manipulate the reality before us. Now, where he talks about there is no real truth, to a degree, he's right, because you're having a subjective experience, meaning you're creating your reality as you go. So my reality is not the same as doorkeeper's reality. My reality is not the same as Brad's reality, okay? Very clearly understand that. That's why we can say there is no one truth, because we're all experiencing different realities. The best has a reality that he's going through. Daryl has a reality that he's going through. And because we are magicians, because we are reality generating machines, we're manifesting different reality and different circumstances. Now, the trick that you have to get into is practicing how to manifest at will. And the way to do that goes back to what we were talking about originally, is to live in expectancy, to expect things to unfold in the manner in which you desire. But you must have an emotional attachment to that too as well. You must believe it's going to come to fruition. You can't just expect it and not believe. That doesn't work. The two have to work hand in hand. All right? So understand that. Very, very important. Or you can overstand that, whichever one you want to do, you know? So that is key. We don't need to get mushrooms. We don't need to get herbs. We don't need to get a magic wand to work our power, because those are permission slips. But what we need to do, and here's the exercise for you magis, okay, is you need to every day set an intention. Let's say, for example, I expect to go to work today, and the conversation I'm going to have with my boss for a raise, I expect her to approve it. Or I expect my boss to approve my transfer. Or I've got this crazy bill that has come in. I'm going to call the company and I'm going to tell them that the bill is incorrect, and I expect them to agree with me. Little things like that, that's how you exercise your power. And as it goes along, and as you build up reference experience or you build your faith, you'll be able to do bigger and better things. This is why there are a lot of people in the spiritual community who have been given things like a house, a car, things that have miraculously materialized for them because they understand that they expect these things to happen. Like when I coach actors, I say when you go into an audition, you must expect yourself to do well, and you must expect the fact that you will get it. Same thing I tell filmmakers. I say, well, you need $100,000 to produce your film. So assume and expect you'll get it. I have no doubt about it. That is all there is that you need to do. But Kasank, can you give me a spell? Can you give me a mantra? I could do that, but you don't need that. If you expect that money to come to you, it will. You don't need to go see a preacher who stands on a pulpit and pretends to know more than you about the Bible. You don't need that. You already know more than the preacher. I've taught you magi's more than these dumb pip pastor ministers know. I have taught you a fundamental truth and a core truth of your being, which is that there's no such thing as reality. That reality takes shape according to the expectations of the observer. You are the observer. It is your reality. It's an individual experience. There's no one truth. I tell you, my magi's, just set an intention every day. And some of you, if you want, you can set 2 or 3 intentions within one day. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, I got a fine. Well, I expect that they will dismiss this fine. I would like to get a new car, but I don't have the money for the car I like. I expect me to get that money. I don't have to know how, but I just expect it to come. My mother's very, very sick. I expect her to get well very soon. But remember, there are 2 prerequisites. The first prerequisite is that you have to believe. The other, if you have to understand, it's all illusion. It's Maya. There's no one reality. Your mind has to accept that fact in order for you to manipulate the reality before you. When you live in this type of world where you understand your power and you set the intentions that you expect reality to unfold according to your intentions, then there's no need for worry. There's no cause for concern because you know that you have a say in how your reality unfolds. You're not living at the whim of circumstances. You are not the effect of things in the world. You are the cause. You are so powerful that, as Daryl is saying, you even create problems in your life based on erroneous beliefs. You create a mate that argues with you. You create children that are not obedient. When you go in and take a test, you say, I expect to pass this test. I have not studied, but you can try it and say, I expect that I will do well on this test. Now, as you progress, you can take things further. When you expect something to unfold and it doesn't unfold in the way you expect, hold on to the belief. Deny that reality. There's another technique that I employ, which is, say you set an objective or you set an intent, you expect the intent to come to fruition and it doesn't. In fact, the exact opposite happens and something bad happens. Well, okay, something bad has happened. It didn't unfold the way you wanted it to. Now replay that situation in your mind, but now see it unfolding the way you want, because there's no such thing as the past and there's no such thing as the future. There's only the here now moment. So if you envision that it is unfolding the way you want, it will rewrite itself according to your expectations. You literally will change the past and consequently the present. Let me say that again. You set an intention. You live in expectancy. You expect it to unfold the way you want. You have a strong belief. You understand that there's no one reality, but yet it doesn't come to fruition. What do? You panic. Let me call Kasank. I got to panic. I'm going to call Kasank. No. You replay the situation. All right, let me give you, it's better if I give you a very good example, okay? So I come home. This could never happen to me because I'm too handsome. But there's a letter on my kitchen table, my girlfriend. She writes me a Dear John letter. She leaves, she left me, okay? She packed up her stuff and she left. Like I said, this will never happen to me. But hypothetically, in some alternate world, in some far, far-fetched idea, in like a Twilight Zone thing, you know, where I come home, I got a Dear John letter, a woman left me. Nah, I know you guys probably don't believe that, right? That's too hard to believe. But let's just, suspension of disbelief. Let's just say it would happen in some alternate reality, right? A woman leaves me because I end up leaving them, but whatever, all right? Okay, let's call it a science fiction film, all right? In this science fiction film, Kasank comes home and he gets a letter on his kitchen table where the woman leaves Kasank for a better man. And Kasank falls apart. He's distressed, he cries. Remember, this is science fiction, this could never happen, but okay, all right? Instead of falling apart and crying, I sit, I meditate, and I replay myself walking home, picking up the letter where my girlfriend says she has gone to the store to get me a vegan fish sandwich, which is my favorite, vegan fish sandwich. She'll be back soon. Love, Kathy. If you replay that and you replay that and you replay that in your mind and you hold on to that, what that's going to do is change the present reality. Now, is she going to come back with a fish sandwich? Probably not. But what will happen is she will come back and say, Kasank, I was wrong. I shouldn't have left you. Let's try and work this out. That's what's going to happen. Because if you hold on to that belief, it's strong enough to change the present reality if you deny the current circumstances. Because by you denying the current circumstances, you are affirming to the mind that this is reality doesn't exist. So I deny you, I denounce you. This reality does not exist. The only thing that exists is the reality that I want. You understand? This is why when I coach and I do dating, when I was a dating coach and I was working with guys, and a lot of guys have very low self-esteem. They don't think they can be with a beautiful woman. They don't think they can look as handsome as me. But, you know, so what I do is I tell them that you have to believe that you are handsome, that women are attracted to you in droves. And you hold on to that belief, and your actions are in alignment with that belief. Watch how it takes shape. Do you understand what I mean? In fact, sometimes I'll watch a film and I'll see some deep meaning in the film that other people don't see. If you look at the film Austin Powers, right? It's a very interesting film because Austin, he's an English man with bad teeth, but yet every woman likes him. Why? Because he believes that he's handsome. He believes he's the shit. You know what I mean? And that belief that he has him carrying himself as if he's $1 million and that every woman wants him. And that reality has no choice but then to comply with that. That's the secret. You holding on to that belief and denying the current reality. You expecting it. If you watch that film, Austin Powers, he expects every woman to like him. Even if some women find him gross. And the funny thing is, at the end of the movie, they end up sleeping with him. Because he bends reality. to conform with his expectations, not vice versa. But you see how dwarfed and how messed up the Illuminati has us? Do you understand what the Illuminati has done? They've made us believe that the outside world has an impact upon us. No. We have an impact upon the outside world. We control the outside world, not vice versa. This is the secret of the devil, twisting the truth. This information is so powerful that if the world were to adopt it tomorrow, we'd immediately shift the timeline, shift the space-time continuum to a brand new world. I mean, literally a brand new world. Maybe we'll have hovercrafts and flying cars or whatever. But the majority of the population of the planet believes that the outside world has an impact upon them. It doesn't. It doesn't. So that's the exercise. Start out your day, pick one or two things, set an intention or an expectation, and then expect it to unfold. But don't expect it in a very conscious way, like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do this. This is what's going to happen. And you constantly think about it. That doesn't work. Relax. That amen state. Think about it. Because when you're like, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's not a self-assured person. You're trying to convince yourself. A person who truly believes that something's going to happen is more relaxed and self-assured that it will manifest. You understand? This is why, again, when I do dating, I'm coaching guys, and I say, go up and talk to that girl. Oh, she's going to reject me. She'll reject you if you expect her to reject you, because you're going to create that reality. But if you say to yourself, when I walk up to her, she'll turn and smile at me and we'll have a very nice conversation, that's what's going to happen. And believe it or not, some guys have said to me, well, Kasank, if I go up and talk to her, can I have a reality where she'll want to sleep with me right away? And I say, yes, you can. If you expect her to be sexually aroused and attracted to you upon the first meeting, yes. If you believe in that wholeheartedly and you expect that's what's going to happen, yes. You know why people don't win as much as they should in Vegas? When they play, I don't know anything about the Vegas games, but what is it called? Blackjack 21, or what's that wheel called? Roulette? Because when they're throwing the dice or doing whatever they want, what's going on? They're standing there going, oh, 21, oh, 21, or 13, come. That's not exercising your power. Because if you truly believe that the dice will come up, what are the, I don't know, snake eyes or whatever, then you would be relaxed and confident, like James Bond. And you would know, it would just, okay, you're 100% convinced that you'll win. Do you understand? There's a difference. It's like two fighters get into the ring. One fighter is up there going, all tense, ready to go. And the other fighter comes up there and he just stares down his opponent like this, emotionless. You got to be thinking to yourself, damn, that's a bad motherfucker. He knows he's good because he is not at all stressed. Okay? You get me? Now, Q&A time. Magi's Q&A time. See if you guys have been paying attention. For the prize of today, in order to manifest your reality, what is the first rule, first principle you must abide by? Let's go. Magi's put that in the chat box there. Give me the answer. In order to manifest your reality in this space-time continuum, what is the first rule you must accept and abide by? What is it? What is it for a prize? Come on now. Let's go, Magi's. I know you're there. Give me the answer. Even if you think it's wrong, just put it right in that chat box. Let me say it again. In order to manifest your reality, what is the prerequisite? What is the first rule you must abide by? Come on now. I want to see someone. Oh my God, you guys are so like shy, man. Somebody, come on now. Michael, let's go, Michael. Let's go, Michael. I know you got the answer. Give that man $1 million. Ra, everything is an illusion. He's the winner of today. All right, Haroon Nefer. You must accept that everything is an illusion. It's Maya. You cannot manipulate reality if you think it exists apart from you. That's right, Kevin Davis. It's Maya. And Emmy, self-control. Nice answer, but not right. Terry, that's the second principle. Belief. Yes, that's the second principle. So good. So my Magi's, I hope this session has been great. If you get an opportunity, please make sure you donate to the channel. Your donation is always appreciated. And everyone, please make sure you hit the like button so that this ranks high and we can get the word out and free the planet. So this is Kasank Ma Keparu, son of Maat and Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Hedaru. Until my next video, Amun Ra.